Okay.
Almost. There we go. So I'll talk a little bit about my teaching approach if anybody's interested. I started playing guitar when I was 19. Was in college, fell in love with it. Next thing you know, I became a music major, so I studied music at Millersville, and I ended up going to California, to a guitar school in California, and I came back and I wrote an instructional method, and I've been teaching about 30 years now, and had thousands of students, and my approach appears to work, so I'll share some of the information with you. There's three elements to music: harmony, melody, and rhythm. And in the harmony book, I have a 200-page manual. The harmony book gives you a vocabulary of chords. There's only three types of chords: major, minor, and dominant. And so we go through and we learn a vocabulary of chords, a visual approach, not reading music. Reading music is that's just one slice of the pie. You know, you learn to read music and be a studio musician. You can get stuff off the paper. This is more of a visual approach. If you can't see it in your head, you can't play it. So I'm just going to go through and show you the practice schedule that I teach my students. First thing you do is you learn the letter names of the strings: E, A, D, G, B, E, the chromatic scale, letters A through G sharp. Two letters don't get sharps: B and E, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. I find an A note. I do the same thing on the next string. Same thing on the next string. Same thing on the next string. And then I memorize this. And I sit and I'll practice this 30 to 50 repetitions for 30 to 50 days. It's 1,000 repetitions. It's in your memory banks forever. Tomorrow, Tuesday, is B day. You'll sit and you'll find all your B notes. Then C notes, D notes, E notes. Then we move on to two notes, which are intervals. And you learn a vocabulary of intervals, which will, that's how we spell chords. There's three types: major, minor, and dominant. Major chords are happy, minor chords are sad, dominant chords are tension. So you go through and next thing you do is you practice 30 to 50 repetitions, then you'll play your scale, 30 to 50 repetitions. Practice your two notes, 30 to 50 repetitions. And then we move on to triads. You'll sit and you'll learn the vocabulary of chords. From this chord, I see 5 chords. From this chord, I see 5 chords. From this one, I see 5. So when I started learning how to play jazz, and I learned all these chords, and I learned all these scales, and finally, I just went back to wanting to play the blues because it was kind of simple. You didn't have to think a lot, and it was, you can play 3 notes and make music. So I kind of settled with just learning blues progressions and applying all the stuff that I learned at school, vocabulary of chords and scales. When I see an A chord, I have a whole variety of things that I can play over top of it. So if I'm playing the blues, so I just learned a blues progression and applied all the theory that I learned at school and started making blues music. And Christine and I were out one night and saw a guy playing trombone, and he's with a guitar player, and this guy said, "This guy plays guitar," and next thing you know, I was on stage playing guitar with this trombone player, and he's like, "Well, you should go to the blues jam." And this was about 10 or 12 years ago, maybe now, and at the 40 and 8 club. So Christine and I ended up going to the 40 and 8, and next thing you know, a dozen years later, we're still playing, and it's a really fun thing, and it's nice to be able to, take some of the stuff that I learned on guitar and show up on stage and jam with other musicians. And I think you saw in the beginning of this blues episode, you know, you saw some of the, I think that was at Champions with Tom and Bill Wash and yeah, Rocky and Gordy and Mariana, yeah. So anyway, you know, that's in the chord book. I teach you a whole vocabulary of chords. It doesn't matter if you're playing blues, jazz, rock, fusion, heavy metal. You know, a chord is a chord. Once you learn them all, you know them all. Melody is the same way. Melody is scales. That's where we... And rhythm is the glue that holds it together. Anyway, that's blues rock and roll. Schoolboy style. Anyway, the book, you know, in the rhythm book, you learn how to dissect the beat, at least in 4 parts, which one part counting is each beat gets one count, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2-part counting is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 3-part, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, and then 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and it's 4-part counting. And you do that with a, you know, you take a chord and you exercise a chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you put all this together, again, it doesn't matter if you play country music, jazz music, or funk music, or any style of music. So if I go through the book, we break it into letter days of the week. And Monday you'll practice everything in the key of A, Tuesday you'll practice in the key of B, Wednesday the key of C, Thursday the key of D, etc. So as you get through the book, you'll have a complete knowledge. It takes about 6 months to get through the book, and then you'll have the tools in your toolbox to play whatever style of music you want to play for the rest of your life. Music's a lifetime study, and again, you can't talk about all the nooks and crannies of learning music in 15 minutes. It's a lifetime study. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share some of that information.